Hey guys, happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday.
Thank you.
You know, it was just like a week ago where it was a weird Tuesday. It was a stressful Tuesday.
Yes, it was. And kind of a stressful long week as well. So
Yeah, long week, weird week. Well, I think this whole year. Let's just say the whole year it's been a little crazy.
Yep.
It has been very crazy. I was telling you guys before we pushed record. This is my first twofer, as I like to call it. I get two special guests on, and I'm very stoked to talk about stuff and talk about the passions of being an artist. So let's have you guys introduce yourselves right off the back, and we'll dive in.
All right, Kate, do you want to go first, and I'll go afterwards?
Sure. My name is Cate Allen. I'm an actress. I'm based out of Salt Lake City, Utah. I actually, I didn't go through school and study acting or anything like that. My background is I was actually working corporate in IT, and I was like, hey, you know what? I'm ready to do something fun. And so I changed it up and just decided to do it and kind of went out there and did it. And very quickly, I booked a show where I was a host. And then shortly thereafter, I booked a radio show, and I did that for about 8 years. And I just finished that up a little bit earlier this year, ended last year, and was over the air broadcast. So that was a lot of fun. And, just have had a blast working on lots of different projects and, trying on different characters and playing them.
That's quite the background.
Yeah. So I have a very different background. I'm not the typical actor where it's like, I studied in grade school, in high school, in college. No, my high school, the Secretary of the State, embezzled over $1 million from the arts. So all art programs were cut. We didn't have acting or drama or anything in the high school I went to. So yeah.
One way to give the art form a bad name by embezzling money.
I was like, seriously, people? But, anyway, just, I don't know. I've had a lot of fun and I enjoy doing it. And yeah, I love it.
Nice. Well, nice to meet you, Kate.
Good to meet you too.
Okay, I guess my turn. Okay, so my name's Channing Lowe. I've was born in California, spent about 2 or 3 months there. Then I got sick of California and I moved to Utah when I was about 3 months old. So big decision. No, but anyway, so I've been here pretty much my entire life, and I love Utah. I've really enjoyed it here. And what my career path has been with a strong interest. Young when I was in high school, I had a heavy interest in making movies, doing film, and not just film, but just production in general, just the technology, technology of the field, just really drew me to it. And so in high school, I knew what I wanted to do. When I went to college, I started going to film school and graduated from film school. Got kind of more into the commercial end of production. Started working got a job down at UVU, helping with their running their production department, doing marketing down there, doing commercials and a whole bunch of kind of industrial and commercial style video productions down there. And in the meantime, kind of on the side, and I liked the idea of more of a 9-to-5 type of job. I worked as a production assistant on one film for about 2 weeks, and realized I did not want to do 12 to 14 hour days. Realized pretty quickly I did not want to do 12 to 14 hours days, but I still wanted to be kind of a storyteller as well. So the career path that I've kind of chosen after UVU, I got into teaching, got a job at Salt Lake Community College running the film program there, and I've been doing that for about 12 years now. And it's turned into a pretty nice film program. We've got nice facility, nice soundstage, nice edit bays. I'm outfitting 3 edit bays right now with all new Mac Pros and DaVinci Resolve color grading suites and all this stuff. It's been fun. But yeah, anyway, so but having a full-time job though, especially as a teacher, gives me some time off the side to do occasionally freelance projects. And then what's even way more fun is doing short films. We've done a couple feature films. One is Ground Zero that's on Amazon. It's a zombie movie. And then the most recent releases are 4K that Cate and I produced. It's called 4K Killer, and that's now on Amazon streaming as well. But
See, so I checked out 4K Killer earlier today.
well, good. Did you get through the whole thing?
I did. No,
good.
I did. And there's something about that style of filmmaking because it's the POV of a serial killer essentially, and it's right off the back unnerving, and I feel naughty for watching it essentially. Oh, good.
I felt naughty for making it anyway. So go ahead. I'll elaborate in a minute. So
it's kind of like, questioning like, should I be watching this? Like, it's borderline snuff is what it feels like,
Yeah. And that was let me tell you, can I tell you about the concept behind it? What
totally. Yeah.
Cause that was then about a decade when we did Ground Zero. And back then it was kind of funny because we did Ground Zero as I told the actors that they would be paid on deferment. But I meant it. I had them sign contracts, and I said, then I'm going to try to make some money with this. And it did. After a little while, started making some money. I made my money back, my production money back, and then I had to start paying actors. They didn't get paid a whole lot, but when they started getting paid, they were excited. They're like, oh wow, we're actually getting paid for this. And at the end of this year, I owe them a little bit more since it's been reposted on. The rights went back to me for distribution. I put it back onto Amazon Prime, and it's. I just made a little bit of money. I have to pay actors again. Don't wait. This isn't going to be broadcast. You can edit that out. I'm just kidding.
I can edit that out if you want.
Yeah, it's not going to be like really steep checks. It'll be like they'll probably be able to go buy a value meal at McDonald's or something. So,
either way, that's something that I appreciate about you, Channing, because when I was first starting out, I did deferred payment jobs. And I've never seen anything from that. And some of them have started making some good money. They got some distribution. I even followed up with one, and I was like, hey, what about this?
Oh, wow.
You will never see anything. I'm like, oh, okay. Thanks for letting me know.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. So, when someone says something like that, then you're like, you know what? Maybe I won't work with you on more projects.
And that's really sneaky.
Well, because, it's not you're working for free. You're paying your gas money, your time to memorize. You're trying to actually go and work. And so it's, it's an opportunity cost.
Yep. Well, and but with Ground Zero, kind of the train of thought I had was with Ground Zero, we tried to do that kind of like a regular production. It was a regular narrative film with the storyline and a script. So, and trying to get all those actors in, it was kind of a bit ambitious. We're trying to get all these actors together on location at the same time. And it was a pain in the butt when I wasn't paying anybody to get everybody there on set and organize that. So later on, years later, I kind of thought, well, if I want to do another feature and try to make some money on it, how can I not have to have all these actors there the whole time? And I thought, well, we can and that's where I came up with the serial killer idea. Well, what if a serial killer visits somebody, that person kills that person, and then that person is no longer has to be in the movie. So that's basically a whole bunch of compiled scenes with kind of this string of a story going through it. And then also, and I knew Cate was going to stick around for the whole thing, but in case she bolted, oh, I can't say anything. I'm not saying anything. I'm giving away stuff. So anyway, so yeah, we'd kill her. That's it. We'd kill her. No, but anyway, so the idea was we'd have an actor show up for one day. We'd shoot it on a weekend or a Friday or something like that. Kill the actor, give them, and I actually paid them for this one. I paid them. Ended up being like $50 an hour for the work that they put into it. So. But then I signed off, and I don't have to pay any actors for it. So we paid them, and the rest is being worked out between Cate and I. And we're in legal battles right now and trying to sort that all out before it.
No, not at all.
No, just kidding.
One of the things that I really love working about with Channing, because we've done several short films, and then this feature is that he says and does what he says he's going to say and do, and not everyone does that. I wish they did, but so that's one of the things. And then they're always fun because we did a really fun short that was a ghost, and, there was some special effects. And then, that one with Mark, that was awesome. That was a while ago.
They kind of didn't finish that. Did they? That was like just some scenes or something, or did they finish? I can't remember.
No, they finished it.
Oh, they did. Okay.
They finished that. The left hanging one, I don't think was finished.
Oh, that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
That's the one that was
D.L. Walker in it. Yeah.
Prostitute. Yep. But there was this other one, and I don't even know where that's at. Maybe Channing.
What was it about?
It was, remember Walter came in and they had the two gang that they were doing the bank robbery.
Here, I'm going to shut a door. Oh, check now. I know where that's at.
Yeah, check now.
Yep.
Anyway, that was a really fun one. So Channing has a lot of shorts that are really fun to act in and fun to play different characters. Yeah.
And Chaz, if you want, I can send you the links to those. CHET is the short one that I did with. That was just kind of a fun project to do, kind of a little comedy thing about a ghost. And then the other one, Check Now, that Cate was in. Yeah, that was a really violent, everything goes wrong comedy.
Yeah.
Is that the one with you said Walter? Is it Walter
Meekum?
Meekum? Yeah. Is it the one where he shoots the ear off?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Did you see that one?
I did. He posted that on over the summer.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Walter's awesome to work with.
Yeah. I haven't talked to him in person. I haven't talked to him like hardly ever, just like mutual Facebook stuff. But I saw that and I'm like, wow, this seems like everybody had a lot of fun doing.
Oh my gosh, it was blast.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a lot of blood in there. There was a lot of blood to clean up by the time we were finished with it. Yeah. Because he gets his ear shot off. He gets his fingers chopped off. He throws up in his mask, and it was just like
that's right. Yeah, he does throw up in his mask. That's the part I really laughed at. That's so disgusting.
Yeah, that was a fun one to work on. But and that was done as Salt Lake Community College. We try to do what's called a boot camp once a year. We haven't done it for a couple of years. We're trying to bring it back this summer. Because I kind of enjoy my summers, so it's a lot of work. But where we pull together, it's kind of, we call it like it's the closest students can get at Salt Lake Community College to getting like an actual crew position, where we try to make it. Usually we have about 20 students that are working on it as a crew, and we separate them into departments, into camera department, sound department, production, art department, and then they work in their own departments to produce this film. So it's usually a bit higher quality than some of the other student films, because they have access to our full crew, and it's a lot of fun. We build a set, hire actors, do costumes, and all that stuff. So
I went to the U. That's where I graduated, and
me too.
Their program is different than Slick's by a long shot.
Yeah, it's more of an art degree too, and I didn't realize that when maybe you need to talk about it a little bit as well, but I didn't realize that when I went to school there, and I was like really chomping at the bit to get my hands on some production equipment, start making movies. But I think they had a lot of good art history and film history classes that I really enjoyed. The screenwriting program's great, but and Slick is more of a 2-year technical program. Get the technical part, get out and get an assistant job on a film set, like in camera or grip.
Yeah, that's what I realized too. After I got the degree, I kind of realized the university is more like theory based than hands on, which I think has both upsides as well. It just depends how you apply it. But so how did you two meet then?
It's through the acting community somehow.
Yeah.
How did we meet?
Through an acting job, probably, and. Yeah, I don't remember exactly when, but like I said, Channing's super easy to work with, and it's fun. It's easy. You go and get it done, and then you're out. You're like, hey, we had a blast. Let's do it again.
Yeah, I think maybe you'd been on like 1 or 2 film student projects, and then
probably. I think that was probably it. I've just had a really good experience with most Slick students because they crank it out, gets done fast. You have footage if you need to update your reel. Because with a lot of professional gigs, you never see it. And maybe you see it on television. You're like, hey, let me try to DVR that. It doesn't exactly work. So it's like, oh, yeah, I'm in the middle, but I'm trying to, like I never got footage of that episode I was in, so. Yeah.
And haven't we hired you for like a couple commercials or something as well? Like commercials we do.
I remember there was Space Paste.
Oh yeah.
A long time ago. Yep. And a couple of others like that. And then there was the Robbering. That was a fun shoot too.
Oh yeah.
Twist.
Yeah, that was another boot camp that we did at the school. So yep. Yeah.
And the thing is, that's good about boot camp is you get in, everyone knows the positions. And it's been interesting because I've done those and then I'm working on a professional set and they're like, hey, Kate. Because in Salt Lake, the way it works, I mean, the work is so varied. There are times when it's feast, like this summer, there was a huge feast, and then it starts to trickle, but you're like, hey, I want to work, I want to be on set. So there may be a day that you're the lead, you're starring in it, and then the next time you're like, hey, I have one word and I'm a day player.
That sounds fun. I've thought about acting as like a joke. And I mean that in a light-hearted way where it's like, oh, nobody would take me serious anyway. So, but because I'm more behind the camera kind of a guy. So I'm always curious to hear like what it's like to be a day player essentially, or be the lead, because I'm sure it's like certain different pressure, right?
I think it just depends on how you see it. For me, it's so fun. Literally going to work on set, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I get paid to play today. And so it's just really fun. So because it wasn't that long ago that, I recall most of my life, I was sitting around a conference room table. Well, going on set versus sitting around a conference room table is like night and day. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going on set. This is going to be a blast.
How like what got you like into acting though? With that, like, did you just have a wake up call being like, I want to try acting, or has there always been like an inkling?
Well, I wanted to do it as a kid, and I thought, oh, in high school, I'll have this opportunity. And then, the secretary decided to do that. And it was like, well, we don't have any arts program. So, and then in college, I was like, oh my gosh, I got to pay for all this. And I got to figure something out. And how am I going to make money to pay for all of it? So it kind of was a blip that I went in and out. So, I mean, since then, I've done a fair amount of training. I spent some time down in Los Angeles. I was trained at UCB, so Upright Citizens Brigade. Then I've also spent some time in Chicago at Second City, so doing a lot of improv training. And I've, there were quite a few years, I would say about 4 years, I went back and forth because I'm from Southern California. So where I would literally go crash at families' houses and then hustle where you're submitting. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I booked it. I have a couple of auditions, and then you go. I mean, I had some really great opportunities when I was doing UCB. I was crashing on at a friend's place in LA. And so I was just submitting like crazy. And so when I was down there, I had booked a national commercial, and I was like, yes. And so I think it's just, as my one friend puts it, he just says, you just keep going fishing. You just keep going fishing. There's going to be a billion people who say no, but there will be one that says yes. So I know there's a lot of people that go down to move down to California. And I mean, the competition's a lot bigger because your pool, it's not just 100 people that look like you in Utah. You're competing against 10,000. And so your skills, your training, you have to rely on that, because you can go into an audition and you get something from left field, and can you pull that in and do it so it seems so natural? Because there were plenty of auditions where in my head I thought, what in the world? But you can't show that and you can't say that. Like, this isn't on the sides at all. In fact, you're not doing anything that I was told to prepare. I mean, you just can't say that. You just kind of go with it and play and have fun.
I get that. That's, I don't know, because I have friends who have moved to California, and I've had like this inkling maybe to check it out, not move there. Like I haven't been to LA at all. So like I was going to vacation there during the summer, like for like a 5-day trip or whatever. And
go crash on someone's couch. COVID.
Well, and so do you guys know Taylor Deuce?
Yeah. Taylor went through the program for a bit. Yeah, he's great guy.
Yeah, so he's one of my friends who moved down there, and he's always he's
cool.
like, dude.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's in the LA.
That's very cool. I did not know that.
Yeah,
I didn't know that either.
He's always trying to get me to come down and like crash and just film stuff.
Wow,
that'd be fun.
That would be fun.
Do you know, is he working out there now, or is he looking for work, or what's the?
I believe he's working.
Very cool. If
I'm not mistaken, if he's listening, he listens to this. I mean, if he's listening, I'm wrong. Then I guess he could castrate me. But he's like, "How dare you sell me?"
Well, the thing is, and you saw 4K Killer, so Channing's in it too.
He is.
Yeah.
I saw that. Yeah, And
You can have a cameo in your own.
And that was because I was being cheap. I didn't want to pay any more actors, so I thought I'll just kill. And we needed to make it a feature length. To make it feature length, it has to be 70 minutes. So it's barely over the 70-minute mark, and that helped push it over the 70-minute mark. In fact, we did that twice. We did it with what's your friend, the one that gets poisoned at the end?
Yolanda.
Yolanda, yeah, she was great. We did the poisoning of Yolanda, and then the hanging of Channing. So yeah.
So how did you guys pull off the hanging?
That was a little bit of digital effects to take out the obvious harness that was sticking out of the back of my shirt. For the most part, I was able to do some digital manipulation on it and eliminate because I was trying not to swing the wrong way. It was a body harness that people use for safety equipment if they're up on a scissors lift or a building or something like that. If they fall off, then they're hooked in. So yeah, I just put a body harness on and then brought the rope down, tied it around like it looked like a knot around my neck, a noose or whatever, and then secured it to the harness. So
movie magic.
But yeah, yeah, there was not a ton of digital manipulation, but like we did do some digital effects along with practical ones, like where Sonic gets shot with an arrow with the two arrows.
Oh, yeah.
You see the arrow actually come flying and stick into her, and it was a real arrow in her, or not a real arrow, but a real fake arrow that was attached to her body, and then. But then I did some digital stuff, took it out and had it animate across and hit to look like it stuck into her back. We I can't remember. I think we pulled our hand out and like wiggled it. And so it was shaking like it was vibrating and removed that as well or something. So it was, yeah.
I love movie magic. It's so fun.
Yeah. I think almost every killing, I did a little bit of digital manipulation on it, like with the squibs, Phil Seaven getting shot. Those were practical squibs, but did some digital stuff to remove. Like there's a hole in his shirt before he starts, and then it pops out. So then we did some digital stuff to remove the holes in his shirt. So yeah, there's like digital and practical kind of mixed together. So
Photoshop for video.
Yes. Yep.
Exactly.
And so, Kate, question for you on that then. This is kind of a spoiler, but we'll just say spoiler up front right now. So if anybody's listening.
If you're going to watch it, don't listen to this next question.
I know. If you're going to go watch 4K Killer, just skip over this.
How about stop the podcast, go watch it, come back and continue the podcast, and then it won't be spoiled.
Exactly.
Is that fair?
That's fair.
Yeah. That way they don't skip through the podcast. They get through the podcast and they don't get it spoiled. So spoiler alert. Okay.
This is the official alert. Okay. What mindset did the playing the killer, if you will, and like the reporter, like, did you go super dark for that, like mentally?
A little bit. I mean, it's while we were filming this, I actually was filming another feature film that I'm a lead in, and interesting enough, I also played a predator in that one, and so, but it has a totally different storyline. It's a period place that takes place in the 70s. And so I had kind of learned how to get into this predator mode. And so it was really fascinating because I recall on the other film, we usually filmed on Sundays, and he said, Kate, I need you to be a predator. Get that kill mode. Like, I want to see it in your eyes. And I remember I was like, okay, boom. And I got there and he was like, okay, now you're scaring me. Can we pull back a little? in doing Channing's film, it was the same thing. It was like, okay, let's just get into that mode. But a lot of the stuff, I mean, pretty much I know everyone in the film and I like them as a person and as an actor, and they're awesome to work with. But I was like, hey, this is a really cool opportunity to just be like zoning in. And I mean, one of the ones that I love the most is like the special effects that you did on Walter and the silicone and like, the blood and everything that had to be used because it was so realistic.
And that was, I have to give kudos. That's Tom Jensen's makeup work that he did, a friend of mine that did the prosthetic, the practical throat slit. Yeah. So sorry.
Tom does an awesome job. So for me, I just learned to get into the zone, and I think just training, because you learn how to pop in and pop out of a character. I know that there's a lot of people that are like, oh, you got to be in the character. I'm like, oh, it's a pretty dark place. You don't want to be there. For me, I don't want to hang out there the rest of my life. It's like, oh, hey, I'm getting paid to work on this project. Let's go do it. And then when we're done and we cut, then I pop out. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense.
It sounds like acting.
There you have it. So yeah, just getting to that kind of dark place, almost like that kill energy. Because I mean, unfortunately, it does happen, and especially if you've lived in Salt Lake any amount of time. I'm sure Channing has heard this, like where you have 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Instead of Kevin Bacon, it's like Ted Bundy, or like, because they're like, oh, I know so-and-so, they went on a date with him back in, and I was like, what is this weird thing that kind of, and have you guys heard of this? Am I the only person that it's like, I kept hearing these weird things of like, hey, this person went on a date with him, had some weird vibe, so they got out, and it's a good thing because otherwise they could have been killed. And I'm like, oh, but I kind of took all these different things and then, channeled it.
See, for me, it isn't the connection to Bundy as much as there was, I think, the Swap family from the 80s or something like that. They had a big standoff and killed a police officer or something like that. So it's
oh dang.
I'm not related to them by any means. It's just I have a friend that's a friend of that family. So anyway,
exactly. It's a friend of a friend of a friend, and then you're like,
so it's 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon or 7 degrees or whatever it is. Yes,
exactly, 6, 7, whatever it is.
I can't. What is it? Is it 6 or 7? I can't remember.
Something or other like that, and we're like, okay, yeah.
I think it's a fun analogy. Kevin Bacon of all people. Like.
Well, it's true because honestly, I mean, my acting coach, Frank Garris, he had worked with them on a project. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's really short, so many degrees to Kevin Bacon. And, because he filmed Footloose in Utah, anyway.
I didn't know that. Oh, I had no idea. I had no idea about that.
Yep. In Lehigh, they had the big dance thing takes place. The exterior is the Lehigh Roller Mills in Lehigh. Yeah. And then the interior is a set or another location that they did, but it's supposed to be at Lehigh Roller Mills. So
the more you know.
Yes.
Because I think I guess ignore me. That totally slipped, the name slipped my mind. So Channing, what brought you to 4K Killer? Like, is it just the need that you wanted to make a feature film again, or?
A little bit, like we made a bit of money on Ground Zero, and I kind of want to see if we can make a little bit of money on this one. But I also love filmmaking, so I love the art form. And I have enjoyed some found footage films as well. There's been a handful that I've really enjoyed, and I thought they've done a good job with. And I thought that was kind of a cool concept. What if a serial killer? If the footage that we're finding is them producing a movie and produces, they shoot everything, they edit the whole thing, they produce the soundtrack for it, and then they release it to the public for their consumption after the murdering's done. That was would be kind of a fun concept, and kind of a dark concept, but yeah, I still enjoy. I love making movies and being involved in the process. I'm more of a technical person. I don't consider myself much of a great director or anything. So occasionally we'll do some short films, but yeah, just a little bit money wise as well. Wanted to make a little bit of money on the project and have fun doing it. So
how long did it take you guys to shoot 4K Killer?
4 years. Was it
4 years?
3 or 4 years that and we knew it was going to be kind of a slow slog because we, like I said, we just like sometimes like we'd only get one scene done in a month, and then like a month later, and once in a while we'd do like 2 a month, but it was just kind of based on our schedule when we were open. And luckily 4K is still holding up as far as like the technology. It's like because back when it was a big deal when we started, and now it's not just a big deal, but it's like it's kind of the standard. You have UHD that you're watching on monitors and stuff. So I thought that would be kind of cool that this person wants to make a really high quality 4K movie. So they're going to do it with and all the technology that you have at your fingertips now with phones, drones, DSLRs, mirrorless cameras, all the different types of cameras that you have access to for so cheap that, yeah, you could produce like, and a lot of filmmakers think that as well. They like, I have so many tools at my fingertips now that I can make my own movie if I have a good story. But it's so now it's kind of dropping that concept in the lap of the serial killer, saying I can make myself a movie. It's very, very affordable. She complains about the having to get it back in time or something like that at the end, or she's going to get charged extra for an extra day. But
And I mean, the storyline changed a little bit too as we kept filming. Then it was like, hey, let's change this up and let's do that. And so that was the part that was really nice because it was evolving as we kept going on.
And how long was the script? About 70 pages as well? Because there's that rule of thumb of like one page being like 1 minute.
What do you say is script? How do you say that word?
So, Chaz, that's awesome. We love that. Actually,
is there a script?
There was a narrative for the interview questions. We brought a lot of it was improv. What we did with Sana is we gave her what the interview questions were going to be, and I said, make up your own story, make up your own past. And she inserted a lot of things. She talked about like what her brother taught her to like protect herself and stuff like that, and referenced a few things. That was just kind of these backstory things that were in her head. So we gave her a basic kind of storyline for it and said, this is kind of what we want to do, but this is your story. This is what happens to you. So who are you and what do you want to be? And she basically sat and we just did an interview. Occasionally I'd step in and say, oh, I really like this idea. Let's kind of elaborate on that. Then ask Cate. Then Cate would re-ask the question as the interviewer. So
I see. I love that idea. There's a subgenre, mumblecore. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. Super low budget indie films, but there's a movie called Drinking Buddies that's all improv. And the director Joe Swanberg would only give them the scenario, like the situation, and then they'd let the camera just play out.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And what was that called? See, I'm going to be typing things down as we're
Drinking Buddies.
Drinking
I'm
Buddies.
going to check that out.
Yeah, I believe it is on Hulu.
Okay.
I believe. Don't
Cool.
quote me, but
yeah,
it's like one of those super indie. I mean, that's what it is, like super indie, experiment, bring out the characters. And I think that allows the actors to have a little bit more leeway as well, if you take that approach. So.
It's definitely a different type of art form to do that rather than have a script. And I can definitely appreciate that and appreciate like the directors wanting to venture into that. And then also the actors. Yeah. I can't imagine doing that.
But, like on the spot.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, you really have to have the chemistry. I mean, it sounds fun. I've done a couple of improv type films, but it's really, it's kind of an outline and then you go from there, but it depends on the director and what they're looking for and what they want. But I had two buddies that they did a similar film and they submitted it to Slam Dance and got in.
Oh, wow. Was it feature?
I was like, what's it called? Weed Killers? Anyway, it's about essentially they mow lawns and they smoke weed. So that's essentially the premise of the whole film. But they were excited. It got into Slam Dance, and that's all they cared
about. That's cool.
Yeah, that's a huge. I think that's a huge pat on the back.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, if you can play off of people, and the part that was really nice also about Channing is he let us run with it, and. Because Sana had this huge story, and so we just kept playing off of it. So it was fun. It was really fun.
And do you guys have like another project lined up? Maybe.
Nothing yet.
Nothing set, but I mean, I've talked to Channing about an idea, and I've even outlined it, but I haven't gotten past that into an actual script.
If it's the one I'm thinking of, I really like that idea, and that'd be kind of a fun one to. And that would be that'd be a narrative film or even possibly a series. Was it? It was more just like a film, wasn't it?
Yeah, we were talking about a narrative. I mean, we could expand it into a series too and just make it into shorter episodes because I know that's pretty popular. But it's a lot of it is based upon, I had the opportunity because I was a talk show host and specifically in politics and then in business, I was asked to serve on 2 committees for the state of Utah and to help victims of sexual violence. Anyway, needless to say, I learned a lot where you're like, holy crap, that's happening in my backyard. What's up? And so there were just a lot of things. And while we were filming this, I talked to Channing about some of this stuff. And he's like, you should write this down. You should put it into a film. So I outlined it. And I think it's taking from the outline to actually scripting it and going from there.
Hell yes.
But the part is like
it was a really cool concept too. I thought it was an excellent concept, and I guess I'm judging by what you're saying, Cate. You probably aren't trying to show too much about it, but
yeah, because I haven't scripted it yet.
Yeah.
But long story short, it's because when you can take something like Stranger Things, that's based off of Operation Monarch and all the government human experimentation. So it makes it so fascinating, even though it's technically fiction, it's based upon some real events that happened. So similarly, taking some things that are based upon real stuff going on and then turning it to make it a little bit more palatable into a narrative.
Well, I think you should continue with it. It sounds exciting.
Thanks.
I don't know. I like 4K Killer, and so I'm excited to see what else you guys do. And I mean, judging from the one with Walter, I forgot the name of it, the robbery one.
Check now. Yep.
Yeah, I love that one too. And so I'm excited to see your guys' next project.
Oh, yeah.
Consider me a fan.
I kind of like violence too. So in movies, I like almost any type of movie, but just like the gore is fun because of the makeup side of things.
Definitely.
I have a fascination with with makeup. I'm not good at it, but that's why. My friend Tom Jensen did the zombie makeup for Ground Zero and did a fantastic job on it. And so it's just that's some fun stuff.
I think it's always fun too to be like, oh, sorry, what were we gonna say?
Oh, it's okay. Go ahead.
Oh, it was just like being on the side of, like on the other side of the camera, like watching the makeup be applied, and you're like, is this gonna work? Is this shot gonna work?
Yeah.
And then once you see the final outcome, you're like, holy shit, it worked. Then you show it to some family and they're like, that's disgusting. You're like, you don't have any idea how hard that was to pull off. Like, it's fantastic.
Exactly. And so the special effects, I mean, Tom Jensen does an amazing job. So with the sledgehammer, we had an actual sledgehammer and then one that he created out of foam. And so we were doing one scene and I did not hit DL's knee. And afterwards, Channy's like, why didn't you hit his knee? I'm like, oh, it's the real one. He's like, oh, yeah, no. But I mean, Tom did such an awesome job in replicating it that you really couldn't tell the difference. That I was like, oh, no, I would have broken his kneecap.
And the knife that was used to slit Walter's throat. Oh, that he did a prop knife. But actually that one I'm trying to think it was like the plastic one we had up to his neck. He did take the real knife and he sanded it down just so no mistakes would happen. It had a very dull blade on it. It wasn't even a blade anymore. But just so if somebody did get hit or something like that when we're doing stunt work. But he made a really nice looking, looked just like the real knife as well. So he's really good at like vacuum forming and stuff like that. I don't even know what it's called. So yeah.
Over my head.
It's cool stuff and it looks awesome on camera, especially after post.
Yeah. You edited this, Channing?
I did. Yeah, it was the claim that Kate's character did. So she took credit for it in the movie, but yeah, I did all the post production on it, editing and whatnot.
Color grading as well.
Yep. And I could get away with a lot if we had like cameras that like we got back and the footage didn't look so good because it was like some GoPro format or something like that. I'm just like, oh, it was the fault of this person, the amateur in the movie making their amateur movie. So I kind of blame it on that. So I mean, something like Ground Zero, we tried to make the lighting look really nice. We took the time with the lighting and the shots and everything, so it looked more cinematic. But
yeah, because I think for 4K Killer, I mean, like it seemed like it was going for like a naturalistic approach.
It was, yeah. Most of the time we didn't do lighting. She did do the one moment where with Walter getting his throat slit, where she borrowed all the quote unquote rented all the equipment, the lighting equipment, came in and did this nice lighting set up and had a red camera and was a cinema camera there and was going to make that was the one scene she wanted to do awesome lighting on or something. So
I think that's great.
But
it was like my pinnacle scene that it was like, look at this. Because we had a fog machine. She had rented all this equipment. So it was like, there was quite a bit of setup.
Yeah.
Some Atmos.
Yep. Atmosphere. Yep.
Fanning it, make sure he looked good. All the stuff that people don't see, when you're watching the movie, you're like, you have no idea who was fanning that smoke to make everything look good.
Yeah. And I like because every time we have like atmosphere on set and you got the wafters that are walking around wafting. And then in this one, you see Kate walking around wafting in her 4K Killer outfit there.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, question for both of you then. What are some like the best highs you've both experienced being part of the film community?
You go first, Kate, and then I'll.
I'm thinking.
I'm thinking as well.
I think some really like the best high we've had. Honestly, I love working. I love being on set. For me, it is so fun, and it feels like I'm paid to play. And so it's like, oh, this is going to be a blast. And it doesn't matter what I'm doing. I mean, it's always more fun to be the lead as opposed to just being like, oh, I have one word and I'm a day player, you know? But I would say the high is working on set. And then also when you get to see the final product and you're like, yeah, that looks awesome.
Okay, and I'm gonna have to kind of agree with Cate on that. That's very, very similar. But honestly, one thing I've really enjoyed like past decade or so is like my career as a teacher. First of all, I love being around all the toys. We get to be immersed in all these toys that we're always getting the newest and best stuff, and I get to mess with it and use it myself. But just being one thing I've kind of realized recently, we've had students coming back to school. Most of our stuff has been online, about like 2/3 of it, but we're still doing productions. We've got we've been allowed to maintain productions, of course, with the social distancing thing going on, being careful of that. Smaller crew size. Today we were doing kind of a small production with about 8 students there, and just being on set there again with everybody there. I kind of looked around and just thought, oh wow, we're here, we're doing this, you know, and then every now and then I had to remind the actor, it's like, hey, mask on, your shot's done, get the mask on, because we got this thing. We're kind of following we had a what do you call it? COVID. What do they call them on set? Cate, do you remember?
Officer.
Compliance officer. Thank you. Yeah, the COVID compliance officer come and did 2 workshops with us, with the students, and let us know how they're doing things and how they are keeping things safe on set. We've been kind of following the same protocols, so every shot doesn't have an actor with a mask on it, which is horrible. So, but yeah, we've been following it. But yeah, we were there and we were doing it, and it was. I just realized how much I like being on set working with people, with students, or with on a bigger crew or whatever. I don't know. It's just this big collaborative art form that's just way fun to put all this work into something and then get something that's fun to watch and entertaining and maybe emotionally effective. I don't know. So
I think it's really cool. Touch on like the collaboration, because you have certain people who specialize in certain fields. And everybody has their own different passions about the form itself, be it sound, be it lighting, be it camera work, you know, acting, directing. And seeing it all come together is like the pinnacle of like awesomeness.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
And it's a ton of work, because it's like a ton of work that goes into sometimes even just a single shot.
Yep.
And then, and it's way worth it to see, hey, that actually worked. And,
so vice versa then, like what's the lowest that you guys have been, and like have you ever like kind of doubted being in the field?
For me was working in news when I first graduated. So because I wanted a job working on working in production. I wasn't sure exactly where. I kind of knew I worked on like as a production assistant for a couple of weeks, and realized I kind of didn't want to have those big long days. I wanted to like have a family basically. And so I thought that sort of schedule is not going to work for me. So I tried to find a 9-to-5 job. I've kind of found, and I started working at Fox 13, and it was okay. A lot of good people that I worked with. Most of the people I worked with I really enjoyed, and and I still know a lot of them today and still communicate with them occasionally. But yeah, doing that type of production and kind of seeing all the shitty things that happen to people. And with news, you see a lot of it. So after that, I was just like, I realized I do not want to be here. And after that, it hasn't, as far as like career wise and being in the film industry, there hasn't been a lot of like sinking lows like that. That was just kind of really depressing. And then I thought, I got to get out of this. And I did. So, but
in terms of lows and self-doubt, I wouldn't say with acting, but more so with radio. So I'll just tell you, the first day, you know, my operations manager said, hey, Cate, hey, by the way, just part of the job, you're going to get death threats. And I was like, I'm sorry, wait, what?
Oh, wow.
And so, especially with, and I'm sure you guys have seen with the election and with politics, people get really passionate, and some people get a little scary. And so, and I mean, that's not just for talk radio, but also with DJs. I'm good friends with some other people in radio who are DJs, and it's sometimes a safety issue. And so that was something that came up first day, because a lot of people don't think. And I was like, oh my gosh, Salt Lake, it's like, we're about 1 million people. Like, it's a good place to be. It really didn't cross my mind. And then, yeah, it happens. It's a real thing. So I would say from that aspect, that was one of those like, oh, wow. Oh, okay. Let's be safe. And so, I mean, there are things that I've done. So it's like, I'm trained in martial arts. I'm trained in a lot of things that it's just a safety thing. So it's like your brain and your body go into automatic. The same thing. It's like, I got trained in firearms, which, for acting, it's really important because I've played a lot of cops, but then also from a safety perspective, super smart to know too. So it, has both things in terms of, because I've had to use the martial arts, and I've used it in stunts. I've also used it, in various acting scenes. So it's one of those things that I would say, hey, if this is something that you're really planning on doing, like, make sure you be smart about stuff.
With martial arts, have you seen Cobra Kai?
Yep. I liked it.
I did too.
Watched both seasons and excited to see another season. So
that's one of the seasons or series I binged, and I'm like, this is so over the top and ridiculous, and then I couldn't take my eyes off of it for whatever reason.
I felt stupid for a little while watching. I'm like, am I really watching the next episode? Because it was so, like you said, over the top, but it was fun. It was just like, yeah, and I really got into it. I really enjoyed it.
So what kind of martial arts do you know then, Cate?
So, I've taken self-defense. I've also done a couple of different things, from normal karate to even Muay Thai, and going into more Krav Maga. So I've learned quite a few techniques, and I even took private classes for some time. So I learned how to take down a guy who's 350 plus pounds. Oh. And so it's one of those things that you're like, hey, because I'm not that tall. I'm without shoes. I'm, 5'3", but I normally wear shoes. So I'm 5'4", that 1 inch. But, it's one of those things that it's, I went through and I took several lessons. So it's like, okay, it's literally muscle memory that it's like, oh, boom, and they're down and they don't even know what happened.
I'm glad I never attacked you or anything. So that's good.
No, well, it's funny. I met the guy who was on Halloween, and he came and scooped me up, and I almost literally took his arm, and then I was like, okay, stop. He's a guest on the radio show. But wow. My arm started, and I was like, okay, stop. I had to put myself down because he went beyond the bubble.
Oh.
Which Halloween are we talking about? Rob Zombies?
Oh gosh, he's an older actor. Now I feel embarrassed because I don't even remember. I have a picture of him. I was going through looking for something on my hard drive, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. And I remember I was like, oh, a little bit awkward.
Wow.
But it's like, I didn't see anything, but literally my arm went to and then I'm like, oh, stop. But it was literally just a muscle reaction.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
anyway.
Badass. So just, in other words, don't cross Cate ever. Don't get on her bad side.
No, I mean, it's been helpful though, because I have played quite a few cops. Mm-hmm. Now I've played a killer a few times. So in this film, and then in a couple of others too.
Nice.
I think playing killer would be kind of fun though. I for the longest time, Jason and Michael Myers, right? I'm like, it'd be so fun to be that guy, because usually it's just stuntmen, in older films. It's
totally.
And I'm like, that'd be so fun because you don't really you just have to emote with your body, and you're just the terrifying guy having fun pretending to have kill people. I don't know. That sounds morbid, but
well, it's funny too, because it's I typically, and Tiani knows this, I typically play moms. That's my bread and butter. They're like, oh my gosh, you look like such a great mom. I'm like, thanks so much. I don't have kids. I like them. I think they're great. I babysat a lot, when I was a kid, but yeah.
Well, that's fun. We can start wrapping this up because I know it's nearing our time. So just 2 questions.
Mhm.
Number one, how do you hope you can inspire others?
Channing.
I kind of think that I hopefully do it. I mean, once again, in my job as a teacher, it's kind of my job to inspire students to go out and shoot projects. And I think that it comes by, first of all, I try to make things fun. And when we're learning, I make stupid jokes and do stupid stuff and make them laugh. Like we have this mannequin that we've been using to demonstrate lighting. To the students, because COVID, we don't want we try to stay at home as much as possible and then only come for the productions. So this mannequin, I pulled the mannequin and somebody dressed it up, put like a leather jacket on it. It's this lady had her hair in ponytails, and every now and then online, like this was just this morning in class, I had the mannequin. When I was off camera, I was talking. I turned my camera off for a second and I was talking and I walked around class. I grabbed the mannequin, dragged it over and pulled it behind and stuck it over my shoulder. And then I cut back to my camera and kept on talking like nothing was there. And then I'd go off camera and then I kept talking and I went and moved the mannequin over and then I came and sat back down again. Then I came back on camera and so it was like this creepy mannequin appearing and then disappearing. And then finally said somebody was like, "That's you doing that, right?" I'm like, yeah. Yeah. No, just stuff like that. So I try to make it fun to make them enjoy the experience. And if they're in the field that they want to be in, to make them realize that they can have fun doing it. And also try to give them a good education and show them the big stuff and how to do those things. And anyway, yeah. So make it fun. That's I'm going to stick with that. So.
I think it's a good one because like, if you're not having fun, then why be doing
why even do it? Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly. What's the point?
Right.
I don't know. I kind of think the point of this life is to have fun. So absolutely do it. And I mean, making a film together, I mean, that is like the cream of the crop. It's one of the best things ever.
Yep. Yeah. For the longest time, I thought this is way fun doing this and this is what I want to do. So that's what I'm doing. So
yeah. Like some of my favorite memories is just being on set with like, I mean, I have a lot with Deuce when I helped him out in his project. And speaking of mannequins, there was a mannequin that we had as like a stunt double because like like you dress them up, you could throw them over stuff. Like it's great. But it was around the time Hereditary came out, and I don't know if you guys have seen that, but
yep.
We were shooting in this park in the dark, and like we just see like the silhouette of somebody standing there, which was the mannequin, and it was the creepiest thing ever. And people were placing it around, just like so.
That must be like in our human nature, because people have been taking that mannequin and putting it around our work, and they put it on the sound stage. You're walking, you're like, and it scares the hell out of you. And then I put it in my friend and my coworker Dave's office, and then he put it in my office, and it's just been moving around. And then somebody, one of my students came and pushed it in the room while I was teaching, and quietly pushed in the room, and I was looking at the projector, and then I turned around and saw it out of the corner of my eye, and it freaked me out. So that must be like a thing that people like to do. Creepy mannequins in people's periphery.
It is kind of creepy though. If all of a sudden it shows up and you're like, "What the?"
Yep. Kate, is that your same answer then? Is to have fun?
How do I hope to inspire others? I think it's about enjoying life, having fun, and no matter what you do, if you're having fun and you're enjoying it, it just makes life better. And I think if you're having fun and you're enjoying life, then it kind of invites other people to be like, "Oh yeah, I can do that too." There's a lot of negative Nancy's. You can find them anywhere. But where are the people that are like, "Hey, this is a blast. Come join. You can do this too. It's not that hard." It's because with Channing, in this film, he had said, "Oh, we may go through normal distribution channels." And I said, "That's fine." Well, I had gone up to Sundance and I saw this panel and I was like, "Hey, just so you know, there are other options." And I even filmed this girl showing me the options. So I was like, "Here you go." And so I think it's one of the fun things that you can do is you collaborate and it's like, "Hey, I have an idea. If this works, awesome. If it doesn't, that's okay too."
Yeah, you kind of learn from it. You're like, "Oh, it didn't work. Moving on."
Yeah.
And this next question kind of blends into the last one, sort of. What's one piece of advice that has stuck to you throughout the years, and how do you apply it?
that's like advice that somebody gave to me that stuck with me or something, or just a piece of advice I give to others?
Either or. It's kind of a broad question though.
Well, yeah, I guess I tell, and once again, I keep going back to the student thing rather than production stuff. But I mean, that we are doing production there, but I tell a lot of students are kind of asking like where do I go from here? What do I do with my career? And I tell them, try to get into the profession early on, even if they're in like classes or learning. Try to push your way in. Just keep pushing. If that's what you want to do, you got to push, and eventually something will open up, and you can kind of squeeze in, and then work your ass off too. If you don't work hard, you're not gonna. People won't want you back. Kind of get in there, show that you're an asset, not an ass hat is what I usually tell people. So, but. Yeah. So yeah. And then once you get in there, show that you're an asset by working hard, and you'll be invited back. And if you have to do it, and especially in the film industry, it's one of the only industries that you're kind of expected to work for free for a little bit before they actually realize that, hey, this person actually is helped us, and then they'll start paying you. So, and don't sell yourself short either. Don't work for free for too long if you're in the film industry, because yeah, I've seen I tell students whenever somebody comes to us with a project and says, hey, need somebody to come out and help out on this project, I say, how much are you guys paying? If they tell me they're paying nothing, I say, if you can pay even like a stipend, like a couple $100 or something like that, then I'll let the students know about it. Otherwise, if it's just for free, I just say, no, I'm not going to tell them. So, yeah, your time is worth something as well as so don't sell yourself short.
Sound advice.
For me, a piece of advice is, if you believe you can, you can. And so literally, if you look at my background, I have a master's in French and global management. Would you think like, oh, hey, she's totally an actor? No. So it's really, I just thought, you know what, that sounds really fun. Why not? And I just went for it. And I've had a blast doing it. And I am so thankful that I did. And it just keeps getting better and better. So I think really, if you just have, even if it's just a little bit of belief, but just a little bit of a belief, and just allow that to grow. And then, like Channing said, you work hard, you keep your word, you say and do what you say you're going to say and do. Like, one of the things I've learned in this business, also in working corporate, it's, if you say you're going to do something, do it. Excuses don't count, only results. And I heard that my entire life growing up, because my dad was a businessman, and it was like, excuses don't count, only results. So there are some people in the film industry I choose not to work with, because they talk a really big talk and they don't ever deliver results, and they don't have that professionalism. And for me, I'm a professional. I want to work with professionals. So I would say just go for it. Yeah, you do have to start out, and you may have to do some free gigs, but then that needs to stop. You've got to, you're worth something.
Yeah. And just to kind of build on what Cate said about like people my biggest pet peeve is unfinished projects, whether they're garbage or not. Somebody came and helped you out with a project. Sometimes actors came and acted for free. They deserve to see something a finished product at some point. Yeah. So unfinished projects drive me insane. So if you're going to start something, whether it's garbage or not, people put time into it, finish it. And so they have something to show for that work that they put into it.
I agree. I have one project right now I have not finished, but I almost deleted it off my hard drive on accident, like one of my backup drives, because I had a Mac, and then I upgraded to like PC, and then like it's one of those hard drives are formatted for the Mac, and I'm like, where is it? Like I thought I put everything on this other backup, did not, but I found it after having to like go through everything for like 2 hours. But having that now on this little guy, I'm like super inclined to like finish it, even though it's been like a year. But like, because I like it's interesting to come to stuff with fresh eyes, So like, as long as you said like do not finish it, like go through it, But I think it's cool that you guys. I think it's not even cool. I think it's fantastic that you guys even did a feature film. It's like Deuce says often, is that the miracle films even get made, because there's so much shit that happens beforehand that like falters it, or, like Channing was saying, that people don't release it because it's not the best. Like, but the fact that it's still out there and you guys went through with it, I think that's badass, and like a huge pat on the back.
It's all Channing.
Appreciate it. Well, no, Kate did a lot of. You did a ton of work on it too. You helped. You are a producer of the film as well. I mean, that's.
Well, I mean, it was fun because Channing was like, "Hey, can you help out with this and this?" And so, I helped find some locations, and even we applied
a lot about more than half the actors probably as well. I think.
Yeah, it's and so because it costs to do post production. I mean, I'll just say this: we hustled, and I mean that one application that took a long time to create. Yep. And I was like, dang it, come on, state of Utah, hook us up with some funds. Yep. Help us out.
Yeah.
We didn't get it, unfortunately. No. I wish we would.
Sounds like Utah.
Yeah. But we applied, and that's what matters,
Yeah, you try to get it, and that's what counts. But
exactly.
All right. Where can people find you guys?
Mostly
should we tell them where 4K Killer is first?
Oh, sure. Yeah, 4K Killer's on streaming on Amazon Prime, and if you just type in 4K Killer, it should bring it up on Amazon Prime. If you don't have Amazon Prime, you can still, I think you can pay like $3 to watch it or something like that. So and then my other movie Ground Zero is also on Amazon Prime. It's linked to my name on there. So Ground Zero. Usually, if you type in Ground Zero zombie movie, it will bring it. Actually, I think on Amazon Prime, if you're on the video streaming Prime site, the Ground Zero will actually just bring up the movie. You'll see it in the list down there. And it's like I'm
gonna check that out.
Yeah.
And then 4K Killer is on Amazon Prime. And then also I have a series that I created called Life Hacks with Cate. Because I had served on those committees, I have learned a ton of tools. I actually went back to school to learn about neuroscience, the brain and the body and trauma and how to release it from the body. Like, if you look behind me, I've got some posters because I give private sessions on that. So if people have been through any type of trauma, whether it's, a car crash to something more severe, I help them release that from the brain and body. But anyway, I created a little series. It's called Life Hacks with Cate. And they're just little 5-minute tools. So if you want to calm down the nervous system, feel a little bit better, that's on there as well. And then people can follow me on Instagram. It's at Cate Actress, and it's Cate with a C. Or on Facebook, I have a page. It's called Cate Allen Official. I'm also on IMDb, so you can check me out on Cate Allen. And that's pretty much how you can find me. But I'm really excited about 4K Killer because it's kind of a fun horror film. And not only is it fun, but then the special effects, like I love watching that part. Then I'm like, okay, this is a good part. Okay, watch and see how it looks, because when this happens and then see how it comes together, whether it's a gunshot wound or something else.
My favorite is probably the Cate. Well, spoiler alert, if you've watched the movie, is the machine gun at the end that goes wrong, that gets jammed, but she gets a few shots off though. So,
and I mean, some of the parts were even a little challenging, like with Trisha, because the struggle, but I was like, you push and pull and I will just follow you, because I didn't really want to hurt her while we were filming.
So she was doing the movement and and the thrashing. So anyway.
So it was fun. I enjoyed it.
Well, all that stuff will be in the show notes. I will get the links. And check out 4K Killer. I watched it. I had a great time with it. I'm going to check out Ground Zero tonight. Guys, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
It's been fun.
You guys can follow the podcast on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and YouTube. This will be up on YouTube, by the way, eventually. I'm like 9 episodes behind uploading on YouTube just because it takes so much to do on Facebook, but getting there, I promise.
Cool.
And thank you so much for coming on, guys.
Thank you.
Well, if you ever want us back, we'd love to come back.
Of course. Of course.
We'll have to get another movie done too, so we can have an excuse to come back.
Yeah, we'll bust it out.
Or we can just come back.
A ghost thriller.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Okay, guys, I'll see you next time then.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.